So it should be a caveat at the start, ADD and ADHD. We're using them interchangeably, so ADD is like the non-hyperactive kind of ADHD, and we're just putting that word in for both, for all. And you're so angry at yourself, like, what the hell?
Why can't
I just, like, when you're not, you're gone. Your mind is not here in this. It's a chronic thing, daily. And that causes problems in your life. That's when...
Especially with boys, because a higher percentage of boys are diagnosed with ADHD, and maybe it's testosterone. Maybe it's
well, it's like this. I get an idea, and it's now. It doesn't matter what time of day it is or what's going on. It's now. That's when
there's an awful lot less people that are, we'll say, legitimately ADHD. Welcome again. This is the Ronan O'Brien podcast. I have Enna with me here again for the second time. Enna from Float Rooms and Float Harmony, or Harmony Sound.
Yeah, Revival Rooms. And we had a chat during the week and wanted to catch up on some information that Enna is coming up with around ADHD and how I have experienced ADHD from the perspective of working with clients. And yeah, we have different opinions. I'm going to be a bit of a devil's advocate to some of it. And yeah, what are you going to do? Just talk about my experiences. It's not this newfound knowledge.
Yeah.
We're just having a chat about ADHD, because I know you hear it so many times from so many people that they have ADHD, you know? It's like, oh, that's ADHD. But like a lot of things I will talk about, my own experiences, people will definitely resonate with those, because I've been very open about this with a lot of people lately, and they share a lot of the same stories, the same kind of flaws, let's say, but like, you know, there's a lot of people that this is going to resonate with. So that's what we're here, just to chat about it.
Getting into finding out how and hearing from Enna on his living, experiencing, identifying, diagnosing of ADHD. Now, also, you know, recognize that Enna is a businessman, entrepreneur, running two businesses, Float Rooms and the Harmony Sound,
Revival
Harmony, and we've done some work together that we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so getting into what was your childhood like? Is it with ADHD, now that you recognise ADHD was in it?
Well, see, with the childhood, like I never really thought about anything with ADHD. No one ever said I had ADHD. It wasn't like, when you think of ADHD as a kid, you know, maybe you'll just say, oh, they can't pay attention, they can't sit still. You know, that's generally what you would say. But it's more than that. You know, it's like this intense emotions, and there's a lot of creativity, a lot of hyper focus. There's a lot of, you know, building things, real kind of creating things, always going towards that. Like I never really thought about my childhood that much, and of having ADHD as a kid. You know, that was never.
It wasn't something that was recognised as a thing.
I suppose back then either. No.
So what age are you now?
35. So
35. So this is 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
People didn't know about it. It wasn't really a thing. I suppose it's only in the last 20 years, maybe. Mm-hmm. And in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it seems to be ever more kind of expanding in terms of its diagnosis and its prevalence.
Yeah. Especially with, for me, okay, let's go back and just where I actually started looking at it, and I started maybe finding out that I had ADHD. And it was from doing a mindfulness course. You know, because I'm into a lot of different wellness modalities, a lot of wellness things, and I always thought I needed a bit more mindfulness, you know, because I'm not as grounded sometimes. I'm a little scattered, a little emotional, and constantly doing things and like in a rush.
So I needed mindfulness. I needed to be here in the moment. And when I was doing a mindfulness course, I was, for homework, let's say, you need to practice mindfulness. And it starts getting you kind of looking at where your consciousness is. Where are you in those moments? All right, time to practice mindfulness. And then I kept noticing that I'm slipping. My consciousness was slipping.
Your consciousness or your attention?
Well, your consciousness, your attention. I'm not here. I was gone. You're not here in the moment. I'm going to say, when you're conscious, you're here.
Okay.
That's how I'm using that term. When you're not, you're gone. Your mind is not here in this moment.
So I have an experience of this. My experience of that was like, I'm doing subjects in school that I didn't resonate with, or I felt that were too hard for me, and it was a tune out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd go off and I'd go into my imagination.
Of course. Which is normal.
Which is normal. Yeah. So, but is that not just an aspect of timing a child or educating or teaching a child that needs to be different?
But see, we're not talking here about like children. Children love the imagination and always imagining creating things. Not every kid, but some do. But I'm talking about, everyone might say, oh, everyone's a little bit ADHD, or I've experienced that before, or I forget things, I lost my keys, and things like that. But it's not until it becomes a chronic condition. It's a chronic thing daily, and that causes problems in your life. That's when people start looking into getting diagnosis for ADHD, because everyone forgets things. Everyone goes into the past, thinking and worrying and stressing and sometimes running late. But when it's a chronic thing and it happens all the time and it's interfering with your life, your work, your relationships, that's when it's a problem. That's when people tend to start getting it looked at and really getting a diagnosis then.
Okay, so my devil's advocate to this is, I get what you're saying, but there's other factors. So people would have, they'd be doing a job they don't like, or they're in a relationship that is, they're not connected to their emotional intelligence, and the relationship is falling apart. Their parents are getting older and they don't know how to deal with them. Those other aspects, constant family aspects, and how it becomes an overwhelm. And it's an overwhelm from a burdened emotional and a burdened nervous system point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And so the diagnosis, which seems to be very prevalent then from general practicing, is, it's ADHD, or it is, you can't focus, you fit the bill, you've ticked the boxes, so it must be that you're falling into this. And that's not me saying that I don't think ADHD is a thing or a diagnosis. I do. Oh,
there's a bird trying to come in.
There's a bird trying to put in. Lovely bird.
Yeah, cool.
Chaffinch. And so looking at that, maybe the bird's got ADHD.
Possibly.
So that's my devil's advocate to that. So let me hear you on that.
Well, you're talking about kind of problems everyone might have problems in one aspect, and here and there, and family, but when it's all of those, and like I said, it's chronic, it's always.
But is that not just chronic stress?
Well, chronic stress forever, generally it's patterns of the same.
Yeah,
always.
And from my perspective, I would come back and I would go, it is, let's say it's chronic stress for many years and it's happening all the time, and overburden. And I'm looking at this because we all have our own lenses, and it's like from a nervous system point of view, from a childhood unmet need, from something usually in the childhood equation that is representing and is being shoved down in that in that emotional state.
And I don't disagree with you. So that's kind of looking at what's the cause. You know, I don't know if we can.
So you can have ADHD diagnosis from trauma.
Of course,
Okay.
yeah. There's a lot of different causes, a lot of different theories. You know, there's just genetics. So there's like your neurological side. So that's kind of more physical. There's like emotional trauma, your environment, and there's the other aspect is like the kind of spiritual, so that shamanic kind of soul loss type thing we were talking about a while ago. So there's lots of different things that people theorize causes ADHD. You know, it's not just one thing or chronic stress from your life, but it could, like Gabor Mate, his book Scattered Minds, I really resonated with that because in the way he speaks of it is that, like, as a child and you're in an emotionally overwhelming situation constantly, let's say, not just once, we've all been stressed, but if you're in an unsafe environment and
so unsafe is okay, it could be physically,
emotionally,
but we're talking generally
emotionally unsafe. But a physical unsafe environment is an emotionally unsafe environment.
Yeah, okay.
Not saying that I had that, but I'm just saying that, like, when you're a kid, you can't deal with these emotions. If your body cannot process all the cortisol, all the stress, and as a protection, like as he says, you tune out. So,
and he also says that a child learns to regulate their emotional context from the caregiver or parent in the room, and if they can't regulate their emotional content or their emotional experience, you know, they're imprinting.
Yeah, so just imagine like a parent has ADHD and it wouldn't have been diagnosed back then. So your mother, your father has ADHD. It's more likely that there's way more likely that the child is going to have ADHD. So it's kind of like that's an unsafe environment because it's regulating your emotions is a very big part of ADHD, not being able to regulate them. And if the caregiver can regulate the emotions, the child...
There's no learning sequence.
Absolutely cannot. And then it's not safe to express your emotions because your emotions can trigger their emotions. So you're not safe, so you internalize a lot of it. You know, you'll internalize all them emotions. And if you can't handle that as a kid, you tune out. And your brain is learning to tune out. So the way it's put, especially the way he says it, is that becomes your response to stress first. But then after a while, it just becomes your response. It just becomes your default. It's just tuning out constantly. So you're not here. Like me, I feel like the way I describe it, I have like 20 tabs open in my brain all the time. Even more than that sometimes. And I'm just switching between them all the time. You know? So I'm thinking of one thing now, I'm doing it, and then all of a sudden a new tab is open. I had no control over that. It's just gone.
So what does a quiet mind mean to you?
A quiet mind is a focused mind, you know, it's...
But you have to be focused on something.
Not really, but just calm thoughts. When, like, I can guarantee you there'll be people that will maybe comment on this and both 2 and 4 or whatever, 4 and against or whatever it is, but like you literally have just so many different thoughts coming all at once. And like I said, you have so many different tabs open. Now I'm just talking personally, but I've read a lot and seen a lot of people's other experiences and shared a lot and heard a lot, and a lot of people will resonate with that. You know, you have so many different tabs going. Let's say it feels like someone else is in control of your television, let's say, you know, the channels. Someone else has the remote and you're just like switching switching, and you're like, what the hell? How am I here?
It's like the cat. Look at the red light.
Basically, yeah. But I could be doing something on my phone. I'm down doing something, and then I'm on my laptop, and then I'm in a different tab open, and I'm there like, what was I doing?
I would argue that happens to me most days.
Yeah, but all the time. See the difference. A lot of people will say, "Oh, I get that. You know, I left my keys. I forget my keys when I walk out of the house." But I mean, this is all the time, all day. You're literally you have no control over where you're going. It's like you're on autopilot, but
like the scrolling on the phone and Instagram is a prime example. When you look back, if you look back and you're like, I spent 7 hours.
Yeah,
on
totally.
Like an hour a day.
It's that loop. That's what it's designed for, to catch you. And we were talking about social media.
Are we being trained to be more falling into the ADHD category?
I think that potential in your brain is being exploited. Okay, so let's say we're being trained to be that way. I also think so. I 100% think, because that's the way things are going here with social media, with phones. It's hijacking that center in your brain, especially for young kids and teenagers now. ADHD is going to be an epidemic going forward, because it's training. And when I go back to saying the childhood thing is it's your response first, tuning out, it becomes your default, and this is what's going to happen. It's going to become a default, the standard of people's minds just being hijacked through social media and other.
Well, this is it. You get the dopamine high, and you're training. They're addicts. I mean, kids. I put a post out on this, and I got a bit of heat on it, but it was about, listen, just don't give your kids phones, and it's for you. You're doing it. It's not for your kids. And people are like, "Oh, you don't know.
You don't know what it's like. It's like they'll be quiet if I give them this.
I won't be able to get the dinner ready and stuff like that."
I know.
And look, I have 2 young kids, and they watch cartoons. But other than I wouldn't dare give them a screen until they're in their teens.
Well, I've seen. There was a video with 2 parents who are on their phones in front of their kids, because their kids will see what you're doing.
Yeah.
But they have the phones covered by a book. So it looks that's what they do, you know. They cover their phone with a book, so the kid is looking at them and like it's a book. And
it's a book.
It's a
great idea.
Yeah, that's so good. So the kids are always reading books now, you know, just little colouring books or whatever kind of books, because they're gonna repeat what they see. If you're always on your phone, that's normal.
It is, unfortunately.
Of course. Yeah. And I struggle with that. I call it. Me and my wife, where like she gets stuck, I get stuck, but we say that to each other. It's like, did you get stuck? And then it's like, oh Jesus, yeah, you know, I got stuck. That's what we say. You're just literally stuck to the screen, like mindless scrolling, and
monged,
yeah. So it's just dopamine, you know. It is that addiction, but that is definitely going to cause a lot of serious problems with kids and teenagers growing up. And if they're predisposed to that ADHD brain, let's say, now, because they've done scans, they've scanned someone with diagnosed ADHD, like the prefrontal cortex and different areas that are involved in emotional regulation, and they're different.
Yeah, there's a reduced growth of grey brain matter.
Yeah. I've no grey brain, whatever. But yeah, it's like, so it is real. You can find it on a chart. You can see it in a scan. But it's about, like we were talking about, people using ADHD as an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
I don't use it as an excuse. I'm trying to exploit that as a skill, and I'm using it for the benefits of my life.
So like, if an ADHD diagnosis that's real, that, you know, whatever child has ADHD, that's just the way they're wired, and especially with boys, because a higher percentage of boys are diagnosed with ADHD, and maybe it's testosterone, maybe it's a different they have a slower ability to kind of tune in and learn socially than girls do anyway, but you know, they feel they get left behind a bit, or they get a bit frustrated. When they get frustrated, they're tuning out. So for instance, in general, like when we look at the Steiner school treating, where you're bringing a child to school at 6 instead of 5 or 7, and they've no homework, and they do 1.5 hours of learning in the day, and the rest is play, and how this developmentally brings them into less of the academic mind, more of the creative problem-solving mind.
Yeah.
And you know, they do focus on reading being this number one thing, that you got to be able to read and be competent in reading, you know, and then you read your books. Yeah, I guess my feeling is that there's an awful lot less people that are, we'll say, legitimately ADHD, opposed to culturally gone down the road of being ADHD.
Of course.
And then there's a percentage then as well, which people kind of go, they need something to blame, or need an excuse to blame the way their life is, or to blame the way things are, and they don't. Their ownership goes to the blame. Well, it's because I have ADHD, and it's because I'm like this. And you're like, the frustration that I see is that's the cop out.
Well, you're right. I agree with you.
I think that's a bigger percentage.
It can be.
People, no, I don't have statistics on that, but there's a bigger percentage on people who are like that versus people who are like genuinely born with the wired circuiting of predisposition of ADHD.
Like, you're right. I understand where you're coming from, because it's the same with any traumas. Your whole thing is about working through traumas. So the reason I am the way I am is because of a trauma. Let's say some behavior I do is because of a trauma, and it doesn't excuse the behavior, and I'm not blaming the trauma. I would be the same as you, thinking I should deal with that, work through it, figure it out, and heal that trauma. So I'm not just blaming something and leaving it as an excuse, you know, in that way. Do you feel like that? Because we should work through our traumas.
I'm very much around self-empowerment.
Of course, yeah.
You know, and
work through it, heal it.
Well, you know, work through it, recognize it, flow with it. There's different ways of how people don't necessarily have to heal it, but they can turn it into a superpower instead of a negative.
Of course.
And that is part of them, and not to reject it, and to embrace it, and to work through it, and to soften it, and so on. And I believe this predominantly that's in a nervous system capacity.
Yeah. Well, fundamentally, ADHD issues are like definitely nervous system related, you know, because it's very stressful when you're rushing, forgetting your key. There's a lot of, like, for example, before we get on to this, I'll just say that I think women are underdiagnosed in this, because I'd say you'll have a lot of people reaching out that are women with a diagnosis, or just even feeling like they have ADHD. Because,
and again, women that are like, oh, it could be hormones. I'm like, that's another huge one that's given to women. It's like, oh, it's your hormones are out of whack. It's your, you know, and thyroid and so on. And again, we can talk later about that, and how diet has a huge impact on that as well. But
yep, it's true.
I did one at the weekend. My last Breathwave online was about transmitting or transmuting, and the higher percentage of women, 80% of people with autoimmune deficiencies or disease are women.
Yeah.
And it's because of the way they internalize, more so than the male way is to express an anger or frustration. They're internalizing it for...
Keep it down.
You know, there's different reasons for that. And how that
internalization of
leads to disease
is playing into their endocrinology.
Yeah, I agree. But I think whatever many years ago, they didn't think women had ADHD. You know, that's why they never looked for it. They wouldn't even ever consider it because it was thought to be a male thing. But over the last whatever amount of years, over the last few years, that's not true. You know, so women definitely do have it. It just shows up differently for them.
Okay.
In that way. And now I totally forgot.
I definitely know one or two women that
have it. Yeah. Like, I think I'll remember now I was just saying, like the stressfulness of the nervous system. I'll just give you some examples. Like, you know, we've all left the house, forgot our keys. Oh, where's my keys? And you go back into the house. But like, that will happen so much when you've ADHD. So I'll come out of the house and I'll be like, oh, where's my keys? And I'll go back into the house and then I'll see that there's one of the presses are open and I'll just go over and I'll close the press. I'll go back out.
But that still happens. That's.
But I mean, it's chronic. Like, this happens a lot. This is like, and you're so angry at yourself. Like, what the hell?
Why can't I?
Why can't I just, like, what the hell? Or you go out and you lock the door. This happened to me recently. You're going out. I was going out to the van, and then I got a phone call, and I left the door open because I was going to go back in. But I got a phone call, and I forgot I was going back in. So then I just drove away, left the door wide open, you know, like, and one of the girls was just like, the door's just wide open when I came home. She was home like 5 minutes after I left, which was fine. But like things like that, and you're just like, oh, what the hell? It's like you're just gone, you know? You see, just your mind is just not, it's just taken new direction on the phone. Oh yeah, I'm on the way there now. And it's not that, oh, everyone does that. You know, some people might do that the odd time. That's normal, getting distracted. But this is, the word is chronic. Like, it's just always happening.
So, like, and again, like, there's kids with ADHD that, you know, and the overwhelm that they experience and the difficulty in school and concentration. Teens do, you know, various and different degree. But adult ADHD, it does represent and it does materialize in
different ways.
Yeah. So I mean, what you said, you've done mindfulness.
Yeah.
So, like, does mindfulness work for you?
Mindfulness, I personally think mindfulness is the cure. You know,
because I'm like, no.
Really?
Yeah.
Because what's mindfulness? It's being here.
Yeah. Now,
being present. And ADHD is, let's say, a condition of not being present. You're gone.
Yeah.
You're literally just unfocused. You're focused, but not here. You're just distracted. So I really believe that mindfulness is the way forward for ADHD, because it's training your brain to come back. You know, you're training your mind to come back. Every time you go, you notice, come back.
Let me widen on my view on mindfulness. It's like, maybe it's just worded wrong. You know, it's mindfulness when our mind is already full of things.
Yeah.
You know? And so we're trying to, it's awareness. I would classify as having better awareness. You know, and having better awareness, be as just even in this conversation, having better awareness where I'm not trying to get to the end of a conversation, but being present in the conversation, not trying to wonder what I'm talking about, what I want to reply to what you're saying, but listening to what it is. So that the real form of, like, the biggest form of therapy is somebody being able to listen and be compassionate in their, and being present in their listening.
Yeah. That's a skill.
It's a skill, yeah. Instead of going
to listen,
trying to jump in and all the time. So in terms of mindfulness, I'm like, are we trying to be mindful to fit into structures that are not for us, and that therefore we're kind of accepting this. And what I mean by that is this level of go, this level of achieve, this level of constantly trying and for the future, trying to be better, and there's nothing wrong with working for the future or trying to be better or doing an extra course. I do it myself, but being so caught up in it that you don't have the capacity or the ability to know how to be present in situations that need to have your present awareness.
Well, how I see mindfulness, okay, is just in the day-to-day aspects of life. Like going from your bedroom to the kitchen, okay? You're going to do something, you're leaving your bedroom, you're going into the kitchen to get something. You get in the kitchen, you've no idea why you're there. You know, that happens, people, but it happens a lot with ADHD. So you're there like, what the hell? What? No idea why I'm here. Go back into your room to figure that out, you know, and then you might see something that refreshes your memory, and you go in the kitchen. And just for example, I'm getting a mug, okay? So I go in the kitchen, and then I see that the dishes aren't clean. So I'll clean them, and then I'll do whatever, and I open the press, and then I might notice that, that screw is loose in the hinge in the press. So I'm gone getting a screwdriver, and then I'm back, and then I'm fixing that. And, you know, and then I'll notice something else that needs to be done. You're literally just constantly just like pulled.
I identify with
but you forget the original, why you're there in the first place, to get the mug.
Yeah.
You know?
But I mean, you could argue that like the mug was just something that you were going to do, but you saw something more important and you switched your focus to something that is more important.
Okay, let's say you were on the laptop in your bedroom doing something important.
Yeah.
You went to get a mug of tea, you know? So you're still doing something important, which is more important because you have something coming up, like you're doing an assignment, let's say. But then you're just on this little... you're just gone away, distracted, seeing something needs to be done. And it's like, the way I think of ADHD is like, it's a now. It's just everything's immediate. Everything is now. It's like, I'll see this, I'll do this now. If I put it off, I won't do it. I'll forget about it. So, like, the way you see time is like it's either now or not now. If it's something tomorrow, whatever. Do you know, if it's something in a week, it doesn't exist. It's not now. But if it's something that is due now, then it is, you're compulsed, or it's like, it's just, you have to do it now. And you just do it now. And it's like this impulsivity as well with ADHD. So
buy it.
There's impulsive spending, yeah. There's like, and I'm aware of all these things. Like,
but again, I mean, I feel I've got like, maybe it's a different level. Maybe it's a 3 out of 10, and you're talking about a 7 out of 10 or something. But I feel that that's me on regular occasions, day to day.
Okay.
And you know, from an ADHD, should my attention be better? Yeah. Should I have better focus and a better plan to go forward and get the day done? Yeah. Do I get distracted? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know? But is that causing you problems in your life?
Not so much that they're problems, but they're just the reduced efficacy of my time.
And that's fair, but like ADHD is a chronic thing that causes problems. Like, it totally just causes problems across all aspects of your life. You know, it's very stressful for a lot of people. Like time blindness is one thing. When you have I don't think I'm ever early. I'm never on time. You know, and it's just, you just lose track of time. Just kind of disappears. And it's not that sometimes I'm late, because people with ADHD, it's not everyone with ADHD, but a lot of people with ADHD are just late all the time. And it's not sometimes, you know, it's like I'm late the odd time. It's all the time.
Okay.
You know,
that's an interesting one, yeah.
And it's just like, all of a sudden, that's tied to hyper focus, because you're just, when you do something, you're just focused on that. Nothing exists. You're literally like, they call it an ADHD superpower, is hyperfocus. Like, it can be detrimental when you're hyper-focused on the wrong thing when something else is important. But to your mind, nothing else is important as what you're doing, you know? And you kind of just lose track of time. Time is just a very strange thing for the ADHD mind, let's say.
Yeah, and I get it. I can see that as an aspect. For me, I tend to be quite punctual, and so I'd be very different in that regard. And you know, if somebody's a couple minutes late, I'm like, fine. But if somebody racks up like 40, 50 minutes late, I'm like,
oh, of course,
that's disrespect.
It's no respect for your time. Yeah. And believe me when I say someone, let's say, I don't know if I'm going to speak for everyone here, but someone with ADHD, they know they're late. It's the panic. It's that stress of, I need to go now. They know they're late, you know, and they feel that stress, like, and you literally, you beat yourself up over that. You know, it's like, oh, I'm fucking late. What the hell? But I think the way where that comes from is it's the procrastination side of ADHD, which is chronic, you know, and it means you need the stress, you need the pressure to get your brain engaged to do the thing. You know, that's where it comes from. It's not like I'll eat 30 minutes. If it takes me 15 minutes to get here, I'm like, all right, so it's past, and that's 30 minutes. So it's like, that's not now, you know, 15 minutes to get there, so that's not now. Then when it's like, all of a sudden it's 5 minutes to, and I'm like, it's now. So everything is it's like stress, and it's out the door, and it's just that pressure, that stress, the stress monkey, as people say, in the brain, that needs to be engaged for someone with ADHD to do things, unless it's something that they're just totally focused on, and like creative dopamine type thing. So that's the kind of...
I have a couple of points down here. I hear what you're saying. I have a couple of points, and it's like an overstimulated information tech life. So our phone, Netflix, there's always something there to entertain us.
And distract us.
And distract us. It's in our pockets. Or is it an evolving superpower that we are trying to overlabel and frequently medicate? So medicate is another one. So it's like retinol or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe we won't get into the medication side of it. I don't have any huge knowledge or skill on it, only that I would say it should be a last resort.
Yep.
So is it a daydreamer or is it a visionary? And, you know, attention deficit hyperactive disorder, or is it the audacious, driven, hyper creative design? And you can fall into, I guess, coming into it's how we deal with it, or how we deal with the aspects, or the not the triggers, but how we deal with the aspects of ADHD, and we all have different levels of those aspects. I think that's fair to say that we all have different. We're all on a scale because of ADHD, but some of it is down to tech stimulation, some of it is down to trauma regulating, or some of it is down to, you know, emotional avoidance, and you know, and how it snowballs into creating different personalities in people then, or different management centers in people. From the emotional aspect of ADHD, so when you know, oh, I'm after leaving it too late again, now I'm late, you know, how do you regulate emotional?
Breathe. Regulate that. It's really hard.
Because you've got a flow tank.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Like, so okay, look, well, to start working on your ADHD, you have to understand it. You really have to understand ADHD to start finding ways to work with it. Now, I know we talked about medicating. We didn't talk about medicating. I don't know much about medication. I don't want medication, because I'm into trying to... That's a nice, nice noise.
It's a big wind.
Yeah, I'm into trying to work with it and regulate what I need to regulate and calm down my nervous system. Like floating, of course. That's why the reason revival rooms exist is because of ADHD. It's like because I was like, this is the best thing ever, and then I'm
going to build the most expensive pod and float room and double float room and infrared tanks in Limerick, and you did, and it's class.
I agree.
And just like when you came to Breathwork, we were like, oh, my Breathwork's amazing.
And that was
but we were
all
talking
the time.
about it. He hasn't been on in a long time.
Yeah. Well, okay, look, so we're talking about floating. It was amazing when I first floated. I was down 2 days later floating. Then I was like, okay, once a week I was driving up and down to Cork. That was my thing. I was always floating. Then I signed up membership and I was like bringing friends and family. I was all about it. Then I was like, I need to build my own float centre. So I did that, you know. And then this kind of got me on a path of my creativity and my hyper focus and all the energy and the whatever I have. I can now put it in wherever I put it wherever I want to put it, you know. And I build things. I'm just building stuff, creating things, and that's amazing. That suits the ADHD mind. You know, I'm not in like someone else's structure. I'm not in someone else's plan. I'm not in the 9 to 5 because that doesn't suit you. I'm not in that box. I'm in my own box, and I'm trying to create my own life to suit my way of operating. Mm-hmm. Like we talked about breathwork. When I started breathwork, this is the best thing in the world. I loved it, and I was doing it all the time and without fail. And it was so easy to focus and breathe. And then, like, after a while, it wasn't so shiny anymore. And then I tried to do breath work, and I forget to breathe. And my mind is gone, and I'm not there anymore. And I keep, you know, and after a while, that became...
Well, good, because this is an aspect of the journey, you know.
Of course.
Again, from my perspective, of course you'll have days in breathwork which are like, I'm more or less distracted than the last time.
Yeah.
And if we put together a few days of it being distracted, you're like, it doesn't work anymore.
Of course, I know.
And you're like, so it does work because it has to work.
I know. Right? And I know it works.
All right. But because it didn't land for us or give us the outcome we were looking for a couple of occasions, it doesn't work for me anymore.
So this is important to you because people do drop off breathwork. Of course they do. And I know I'm going to get back to it. I know in my head I'm going to be getting back to breathwork because I know how profound it was for me. Like it was the catalyst to all of this wellness stuff that I'm in now. That was breathwork. You know, breathwork really connected me to myself, but it connected me to your community. Now my community as well, you know?
Yeah.
And I will get back to it. And there's a part of it that it's called work. Like breath work. And I don't know, is that holding me back as well?
The work is turning up.
That's it. It's just like going to the gym. It's like the idea, it's like, but once you get there, once you pack your bag and you're on the way, you're good to go. It's just getting there. It's just lying down.
But you don't have to get anywhere.
I know, exactly.
You're breathing.
Do it whenever you want.
You know?
I understand that. But I think you can see that all my days now, because I've taken on so much, I have so much going on with Revival, the float rooms, and Revival Harmony. And I have loads of group sound baths. I have my own personal stuff. I
just got married.
Just got married, yes. And then, like, I spend a lot of time at the moment. My newest hyper focus is like creating planners and books and things like that. So I'm working on loads of different things.
Enna is really good at has done sound technician, has really helped me and is going to help me an awful lot more now.
Yeah.
With production and with the podcasts and you know, he's just brilliant with that stuff, and he's done fabulous drone work. I mean, and you've got like
the work that you're doing with the Revival Harmony is like, I sometimes see it on I'm like, fuck, he's getting it there. He's like doing it every week, and boom, and he's got the best of the gongs, and I mean, really, really heavily invested, and to the comfort of it, and it's just like it's blowing anybody who thinks that they're doing it right kind of out the window a little bit.
I don't even like you saying that. Not that I don't like that, but I'm not trying to blow anyone out of anything.
No, completely, but it's just like,
I'm just creating my own thing, you know? I'm not going by this is what a sound bath should be.
Yeah.
Because that's in a box, you know, you need this is the setup of a sound bath, and this is how you hold a sound bath. I'm like, no, I'm doing my own thing. It's not even a sound bath. People come to my sound baths and they're like, I don't know what that was. I've never experienced that. Like, there's one woman last night who, and I get this a lot, who's been to loads of different sound baths, and they say, I've never experienced something like that. That's the most amazing thing that happened with sound, you know? And I know you were at my first one. That was the worst one. The worst one I've ever done. And you were on like yoga
made you
mat.
Nervous.
Well, I had it was performance anxiety, and I had so many different instruments, and I was like, I need to play them all. But now that's the frazzled ADHD kind of me. But with sound now, I'm like, I'm creating atmosphere and giving it time, and I'm reading the room, and it's like feeling the energy, and it keeps me grounded in the moment. Sound is like just like nothing else keeps me there. It's so
I get the same from doing workshops with Breathwork, where it's like you're so focused, you're so intense in the facilitation, that it's exhausting.
Of course it is.
It's exhilarating. It's like being on stage. You know? It's like, whoa.
Yeah. It's that the 100%. You're giving 100%, and it's taxing on the body and the mind. It definitely is.
It's tiring. It is.
Yeah. And I did one last night. You know, so I got home at like 10:30. It was cacao and sound, and thought I'd be really tired today, but no, I had a good sleep. All good.
We've done a breathwork and sound back in February. It went really well.
Yeah.
Really well.
And it's also booked out again this time.
It's all booked up. Yes, we're going again in May 11th.
Yeah, May 11th. We could advertise it, but it's already booked up. Yeah. Unless we do another one that day.
Yeah, so we've got to put on another...
We'll put on another one.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you've got the blow-up beds now as well, something that's interesting to help transfer the
sound, the vibrations. Well, I'm always thinking of kind of new ways to make it more immersive, you know. And I've always wanted airbeds. I saw the big tall airbeds before, and I was like, they won't fit in there, you know. How if there's only a small group, where do I put all the other airbeds? But I went to a sound bath in Aranchula, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
And Aranculla. And there's a woman, Baiba, she was doing the sound bath, and when I was there, in a lovely place, and they had airbeds, so I was like, yes, I get to experience this.
Oh, I was wondering where you got it from.
Yeah, and I felt it, and then, like, that was my first time on an airbed in a sound bath, and then I was like, okay, 100% doing this. Like, I need to do this. So, yeah, I just kind of picked up loads of airbeds, and now that's what it is. It's the deep vibrations, the deep drumming, the gongs, and you feel it under you, like so. It's all encompassing.
I'm looking forward to feeling that.
It's really cool.
Yeah. With the big drum. Definitely check out Enna, especially if you're on the Limerick region, for the float rooms and the sauna. They're really, really fantastic.
Yeah.
Even if you have ADHD, or especially if you have ADHD.
Well, it can bring you into the present moment. Sound can do that. With ADHD,
but it can also allow your emotions to catch up with you, much like breathwork can allow you to catch up.
The way you say that, catch up with you, it's like everyone needs to slow down a little bit. You know, especially with ADHD, I find when I slow down, everything catches up with you. It's like in the shamanic practitioner course, we were talking about like your soul needs to catch up with you. sometimes. You know, you're moving too fast. When you slow down, it's giving all of that just imagine like this glow of your soul or an outline of your body is trailing behind you all the time when you're moving too fast. And leave it just get back like that.
Okay.
So there's
So we'll probably have to come into reading plenty of comments and getting people's feedback, because everybody has their own experience or take on themselves, obviously. So, and ADHD, and maybe how far up or down the ladder they are on that. So interesting. I hope this kind of conversation just brings in a perspective or a value. I mean, one of the books I was bringing out here to show was Weapons of Mass Instruction from John Taylor Gatto, and it's about how the indoctrination of children in mainstream schooling and what they're designed to set up to be, so their individual needs are put to a corner, or they're designed to wear a shirt and tie from an early age, and stuff like PE is twice a week. And I have, I'm not drawn to that. That's what happened to us, and that's why I don't think I performed well in the academic setting of school, because I just wasn't interested. And
you're not in that box.
My energy was very different.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, maybe women's ADHD, let's call it, was actually kind of maybe suited to that kind of structure of school, and that the men's ADHD wasn't, and that's why it was more pronounced for men to be like fidgeting and all that. Maybe women's ADHD shows up in different ways, because like there is I know a lot of women now that do have ADHD.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's leave it there.
Well, what about tools?
No tools.
Tools. We're talking about just to end it on.
Okay,
like,
talk to me about tools.
On not a medication route, but like, we have breathwork, we have mindfulness, we have floating, you have sound, you have therapy is one.
You have leaving the phone at home.
Yeah, okay, so
you have nature.
So it's your habits, like, as well, of just creating a habit of like leaving the phone on the shelf or something before bed.
A lot of the work with breathwork is, a lot of the fine point of it is working in the aspect of quality sleep. And like if those of you who had kids sleep better if they have a regimented regime to go to sleep. And so there's no light, there's no phone. Don't bring your phone to bed. Don't have a TV or a screen in your room. Have a dark room. They're like necessities.
Yeah.
To if you're working through ADHD, get the phones and get the TVs out of the room.
And if you have ADHD and you try it and it fails after a few days, don't beat yourself up, because that's what'll happen. You'll do it. You'll be like, they'll do it for a week.
I'll start on Monday.
And well, you can probably just start now. The impulsivity will be like, I'm starting now.
People start every Monday. That's the thing.
What day is this? With whoever, they might start now, right now, and then you might do it for a few nights, and it's going great, and then all of a sudden,
I don't need it.
Yeah, no, you just fall into the habit, your old habits.
Yeah.
But don't beat yourself up. Like the way a lot of people can feel is if they're doing a habit, something really good. Let's say doing a productivity sheet or a planner, let's say. Okay, so filling in the planner every morning and gratitude and all that stuff of things you need to do. And then you might do it for a week and then you just miss a few days. But then you throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Get back on the wagon.
Get back to it. But don't worry, if you do miss a few days doing something, that's fine. It's better, get back whenever. Keep going with that.
Talking about tools as well, food or nutrition is a tool. There's another aspect of it on how
carbohydrates and processed food and sugars.
not great.
So you know from me that I've tried. I like when I was keto, I was doing keto intermittent fasting. I went all in on it. Like I was doing strict keto for a month, so no carbs, just all fats and protein. And then I was doing like.
How did you feel? Did that help?
Really good, yeah. Like I felt really great. You know, that's because I know, like emotionally, I would be an emotional eater. Do you know when you feel a bit low, it's like, oh, where did this bag of cookies come from, or how did that thing of donuts just get beside me? And you feel shit, you know, you don't feel good, and the next day I feel tired, and that exacerbates all ADHD stuff, and for anyone else as well. It's taxing on the body, like the endocrine system. So trying to cut out processed foods is good for everyone, but like trying to deal with emotional eating, because emotional eating is another thing. That's a can of worms. Like so many people have that. You're just to make yourself feel better,
or emotional drinking,
of course,
smoking, vaping,
And I've given up all that stuff. You know, I've given up smoking, I've given up drinking, I've given up socializing. My socializing is wellness stuff. You know, that's socializing in the generic term for us is like drinking. Yeah, so I've given up that. So I don't do that. So I try change my lifestyle to make this work for me. You know, and even with the shamanic course, you know, I'm going to be doing the like soul retrieval with Martin to see where that goes. I'm into trying absolutely everything, not medication for ADHD. Now, also, it should be a caveat at the start, ADD and ADHD, we should have talked about that. We're using them interchangeably, so ADD is like the non-hyperactive kind of ADHD, and you can have a combined type as well. Okay. But when we're talking about ADHD, we're just putting that word in for both, for all the types. I might even put that at the start. But it's just finding tools that work and sticking with them. And if you do fall back to old habits, don't beat yourself up, because it's people with ADHD have this tendency to like really feel shame and guilt. It's all shame and guilt, and really intensely, you know. And don't, you know, come with yourself with compassion and understanding. Just try and understand why you're doing it. Give yourself some understanding, and just work at it. You know, don't give up. If it doesn't work, try something else.
Hope that helps. Any more tools?
Well, look, before coming here, home. Of course, yeah. But before coming here, I had a million things that I could talk about, and I like. There's a memory problem with ADHD as well, by the way. That's very common. You're like, I don't remember that at all, because you're not. It's like
weren't present.
You weren't present when the thought happens, you know, or something like that, and you're there's a big memory thing with ADHD. There's a lot. I'm even writing a book on it. That's
so I'm I think at the moment just planners and
like,
you know, and now I'm writing a book.
Like I was making like for me, projects. This is a project management and idea planner. For me, I know this is long and we're supposed to wrap up, but when I think of an idea, because I like creating things and making new things come true or whatever, when I think of an idea, it's kind of overwhelming, because I can see how much is involved in that idea. So now I'm like, all right, an idea is a project. If you think of it as a project, you break it down into loads of different steps. So that, for me, like I use that now for like updating the website. It's like, that's an idea, updating my website, but it's a project. There's so many things in that. So now I'm like, number one is updating the website, and then it's like, okay, the first 3 steps, flesh out the idea. What is this idea? Why do I what is this project? Why do I like it?
Fair enough. I could do with some of this. That goal without a plan is just a wish. Every project starts with an idea, but only structured action brings it to life.
It's true. And that is like something you can just come back to it, and you can, it's not like something you have to do every day. It's just like come back to it when you feel like you have the energy to go back to the project that you're working on.
Fair play.
And I have like a flexible focus planner, because originally I made this productivity planner, and even I couldn't stick to it. And it was like weekly plans, monthly plans, and then a daily one. And then like after a week I was like...
But this is it, you need so much time to be going in and doing them.
Not really.
No?
It's like top 3 tasks. 5 minutes in the morning. There you go. 5 minutes in the morning, you literally just map out a bit of your day. And like gratitude at the end of the day. But then I couldn't stick to this one, the productivity one. So then I had to come up with one that was more flexible, that I can skip days, and it's okay because it's not like defined weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
well, I've got 2 children. If I leave that down in my house, it's gonna get like drawn and coloured in. But I mean, I might take one off you.
Yeah, like that's kind of my new thing. I have books going. I'm literally all like show you.
Oh, there's more.
This is like the 3rd version.
This is the back pocket one
of a book.
Should we?
Understanding ADHD, and I published it, and then bought it, and then was like, that's wrong. What the hell is this? This makes no sense. And
everything is okay.
That's all good. And then I've had to redo it and change everything, and go back and rewrite stuff. And I'm on like the 4th version now, at the moment.
Okay. Understanding ADHD.
Because this is how it starts for someone. Just not the book, but understanding ADHD is how it starts for someone.
Decluttering.
Figuring out what it is that they have, if they have it.
Okay.
And then starting to work with it, and really, you need understanding to deal with it. Of course.
Okay.
So
well done.
You can see that, like with revival rooms, revival harmony, with stuff like this, I go all in on things, and I will spend every waking day doing, from the moment I wake up till I go to bed, I'll be just
You're the employee stuff I need.
Yeah, if I worked for someone else, and if it was something I liked, of course, there's no, like, work-life balance is not a thing with me, because my work is my life.
But then, like, here comes the conversation then, where it's like, are you just busy doing all the time and not being?
I'm being me. I'm sitting, but it's like, I meditate, I breathe, I relax. It's easier to relax when you have...
How often a week do you float?
Do I float? Oh, probably only once a week. Yeah, once a week. Because it's easier for me to float in someone else's float centre, because in my own float centre, there's a million things to do there. And I'll go in and be like, I could be doing other things.
I hear that, yeah.
But when I'm burning out, when I'm wrecked, that's when I float.
This is another aspect of the Breathwave side of it, where people are like, I don't think I need it right now, so I'll come back to it when I need it.
Yeah, use it before you need it.
And I'm like, yeah, but if you had tipped away at it and you used it, you wouldn't be getting to the point where you absolutely needed it.
Of course, yeah. It's true, I know. It's more... it's preventative maintenance, as we said before, 100%, and that's very hard for me, because I have things that I'm doing. I have just
too much to do.
Well, it's like this. I get an idea, and it's now. It doesn't matter what time of day it is or what's going on. It's now. That's when this is going to happen. It's like, all right, I'm doing this. 6 hours later, and something is born. Like, just randomly. Yeah, it's definitely a now and not now kind of thing. But there's loads of tools. Anyway,
we'll come back on it.
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah. When I figure it all out, okay, I'm on a mission. I'm on literally a mission to figure out this whole thing. When I find all the tools and what works, we'll be back.
Get the book.
And get the book, yeah. It's nearly done. I just finished it this morning.
Well done.
Another like 40 pages added to that.
I'm doing a book as well, but that's another podcast.
A book podcast.
Slán go fóill. Come on.
Thank you very much. And
stay harmonious.
And that podcast is probably too long for someone with ADHD to focus. But
if you're still listening and you have ADHD, you don't have ADHD.
To be honest, no, because it's something that's interesting to you. You probably forgot about everything else that's going on in the world, and you just listen to this.
The cooker is on.
Yeah. Oh no, that happens. Yeah, that happens. Anyway, thank you so much for listening.
Man. A1.
Bye bye.
House.
House.